Welcome to the Jordan Bumgarner Show. This episode, we're going to talk about the Maui Fires. And there's a man who has interviewed a man that is from Lahaina Town, and he is a witness to what has happened in Maui. This is going to be shocking to you people who come across this, who watch mainstream news and do not keep up um, with what is told on the internet because they don't want you to hear things like this. Because money, well, the love of money has caused so much corruption within this world, they don't want to show you things like this. Usually, when something bad happens, it comes down to the money. So, here we go, and I'm going to show you exactly what we're talking about here. Now, stick with me. This is a long interview, and but stick with me. I promise you it's going to be worth your time. It's going to be very interesting for those of you who have never heard anything like this.
Eric West here, HawaiiRealEstate.org, coming to you from the beautiful island of Maui. I'm here with the now somewhat world-famous Fish. This is a follow-up interview to two interviews that I did with him. One was on a live where he just showed up randomly, and that was pretty cool. Didn't expect him to show up, but he did, and he told us some things about what happened on Front Street during the fires and revealed some interesting things that have since been corroborated by other witnesses. And then did a second interview where he came on and told a little bit more of his story. Since then, he's been contacted, I think, you said, over 300 text messages from people all around the world. And so we've decided to help Fish. People have offered to send him money, but he's refused essentially. But now we've set him up. My son just set him up with a Venmo, which is Maui Fish, and we'll put a link in the description if you want to give to Fish. But I thought having an exclusive interview with him right now would be super helpful, considering what's happening right now in Maui. And there's other news agencies have reached out, and of course he doesn't want to talk to just anybody. And we just thought we would take this opportunity so we can clear the air on a couple things, but also to kind of.
Excuse me. Hang on. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, here we are. We're back. Forgive me, guys, for that. I did not mean to do that at all. It just kind of come up, and I couldn't help it.
Tell the story fresh from the top for those of you that haven't seen those lives or seen those videos. And of course, this video is brought to you by Maui LFG, which stands for Maui Let's Fill the Gap. We're all about bringing you truth, which is a gap we're seeing right now, communication, which is a huge gap. We're just now starting to get a little 3G and 4G, but the phones are dropping calls, and so there's been a huge communication gap here on Maui. And I believe that Fish is somebody that's really truly helping fill the truth gap so that you guys can get a sense of what's going on here and get some clarity on it. And I think there's nobody better right now to represent Maui in terms of what Fish has experienced and some of his thoughts on what's happening here. So Fish, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day today to come talk to me and to share with the world some of your thoughts about what's going on here in Lahaina Town. So maybe just take it from the top. How long have you been here and where are you from? I know you wanted to clear up some things that were on a different television show, and you can just kind of clear the air on some of the things you want to make sure people understand.
Okay, first and foremost, I am not from here. I was born in Portland, Oregon, and I've lived here probably 23 years. Out of the last 40 years, I've been here 15 to 20 times. And so I just want, especially the locals here, to know that I have never claimed that I am from here. That's not a good thing to say on the island.
Right.
And also, I want people to know that I'm not blaming the policemen in this incident. And but I do blame the chief of police or whoever the commanding officer was that told them all to stand down, because I feel that they were just as naive as I was at the moment. I just didn't understand anything that was going on. So that first and foremost.
Okay. So that day that you were leaving Front Street, obviously you were just tell us the story essentially, just to get everyone caught up to what you experienced that day as the fire was coming down the hill? You were in the town of Lahaina, obviously down in that area.
Well, I wasn't in downtown Lahaina. I woke up and I realized the electricity was off and the wind was very, very strong. So I decided not to weave that day, so I did not go downtown to Cheeseburger where I usually do. And I went to Safeway to get some things to eat. And the electricity was off, but they had their alternative electricity. And that was about 2:30, and I think it took about an hour and a half in line. I got some orange juice. I went to the table and sat down, read the news.
And this was
Right.
around, this was Foodland or Safeway?
Safeway.
Safeway, got you, okay.
And but the internet went out, so and then I noticed a lot of people standing by the door, and so I went up to the door and looked out, and there was a fire, and I couldn't believe it. It was so thick I couldn't see the gateway, which is across the street. It was totally blacked out from the smoke, and it was streaming across the Kahomakai village.
Do you know about what time that would have been, Fish?
Uh,
To the best of your knowledge?
I was getting probably around 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock in the afternoon, okay.
Yes, I usually carry a clock with me, but I left all my stuff behind, all my weaving stuff behind, because there's no sense weaving that day. You can't weave in the wind.
Right.
And so I looked at everybody, and they're just standing. I said, I think we should evacuate. This wind's very strong. It could be here in just a couple minutes. Nobody said anything. I said, well, I couldn't go down the highway because the poles were down. So I went around Safeway, back where the luau was at, and I saw all the cars were there, and none of them were moving. And I started walking north towards the chart house, which took probably about 10 minutes, and there were a few people walking in front of me, and the people in the cars were asking, would you like a ride? And they went into the cars. Then someone asked me, I went, no, there's a fire back there. You should be getting out of here, you know, and they're like, oh. And I figured something must have been obstructing the traffic up ahead, another pole down or something like that. But when I got to the chart house, all that was there was a police car parked on the side and one policeman in front of the traffic, and he wouldn't allow them to leave.
Right.
And I was,
So,
Did you hear that? The police would not allow them to flee the fire. What? They are to protect and serve us, guys. Your taxpayer dollars pays for that. Now this gets much, much deeper and much, much sadder. So I must say, if you have children, do not let them watch this, because it does have some talk of death, and we're gonna get into that. So just go ahead and warning you.
so we've since found a video that you can search up called Herzog, Herzog, and it details in very living, it's a very daunting, haunting type of video, but you can watch him trying to leave Lahaina. He was coming from Kihei and he was going to Kihei and was routed into Lahaina. He eventually abandons his car and is able to escape on foot, which he does about the same time, possibly, as Fish was there. But he walks out on the north end of Front Street next to the chart house. And I've provided screenshots on my channel in the community tab where you can see exactly where the police cars were positioned, as Fish just mentioned. And we're getting many different stories corroborating exactly what he said happened. And at that time, in that area, you can still see all the telephone poles, at least that you can see in those videos, are still standing up. And all the traffic was getting routed basically through the stoplight, essentially. And there wasn't like a bunch of cars going on both lanes, escaping really quick, because it looks like they had the southbound lane blocked, essentially.
Yes.
And there was no, they couldn't go down the southbound lane to escape.
yes, they had all the traffic southbound about 1,000 feet away, and I saw all the police there. And when I got there, I was wondering why they were all stopped, and I was wondering, is he going to allow me to walk through? But I looked ahead and I saw one person on a bicycle and one person walking ahead, and I saw that they weren't being stopped. And I looked over at the policeman and I said, what are you doing? And he says, I'm just following orders. I said, uh,
Following orders. So he was listening to whoever told him to do this. So that means it come down from like the police chief, and that's why that man, when he first said he's not blaming the police, he is blaming the police chief. So maybe someone bribed the police chief. We're gonna get deeper.
there's a fire back there, and he goes, well, I'm just following orders. And I'm wondering what is going on. And so I just decided, well, I'm going to walk right by him. This is crazy. He's got to be letting these people out, because it's going to be obvious in a minute or two that there's a fire. But from where he was at, you couldn't see down the highway
Around
where
the corner.
around the corner of what was happening. And
But it's pretty obvious. There's billowing smoke and black, and
well,
it's,
you see the way that it curves, you couldn't see around Coahoma Kai,
Right,
where
right.
it was at when I walked out of Safeway.
so you had information that he didn't have because of what you just saw coming down Front Street that maybe he couldn't see where he was at, essentially.
exactly.
Okay, I got you.
So I decided that, well, I'm just going to walk on, and I did. And it takes about 15 minutes to walk from Chart House to Waikuli Beach. And during the 15 minutes I was walking, I kept turning around to see if any cars were coming out. None came out. And I was totally confused, but the wind's blowing, and you can hardly even stand up, and all the traffic was backed up there. But all in that 15 minutes, from the time I got to Waikuli Beach, I couldn't see around the corner there anymore. Not one car came out.
Wow.
And then, as I said,
Not one car came out. Sorry guys, I'm really tired. If I close my eyes for a minute, I'm not. This is my second time reshooting this too.
I'm fighting the wind, and then all of a sudden I heard boom, boom, and I figured I've heard telephone poles where I'm at fall down and make that sound. So, okay, some more telephone poles are falling
Yeah.
down. And then I thought I heard screaming, but I really couldn't discern because of the wind. Your mind starts, you get these strange sounds when it's going through the wires and all this. And I'm, no, this can't be. This just can't be. And so I made my way back to my tent and hunkered down for the night. It got shredded, and I woke up just totally filthy. I had no idea what had happened.
Wow.
And so I went across to the park and I saw two people walking, and I asked them, do you know if Safeway's open? They said, yeah. I said, okay. And so I started walking towards Safeway, and then I realized when I got to Leali'i, which is where the tennis court and the Civic Center is,
Yep.
the fire had gotten that far, about a 5-minute walk from where I'm camped at. And wow, I had no idea it got this far. And as I'm walking down Front Street, across the street and on the other side, everything's burned out. I'm in shock.
Wow.
Just total shock.
So
And,
did you notice any emergency vehicles or personnel or people or anything? What did you observe when you were walking down Front Street the morning after the fire?
Well, when I got to Front Street, where the Chart House was, they had it blocked off, and someone went through there, and then somebody in a uniform came over to tell the people that were standing there, don't let anyone down that way. And when I looked, I saw all these burned out cars, and I immediately felt like, why didn't I do something, more, because
Yep.
I knew, but I was in shock. And so I'm walking down the highway and breathing in all this stuff. I'm coughing, and my eyes are this, and I'm looking. I'm just totally in shock. And they didn't let him, and all this stuff's going.
So, did you notice he talked about the cars and how they were burned out? Well, there's pictures of those vehicles, and the doors are all closed in them. And it was going around the internet. Why are the doors closed? Why aren't people fleeing out of their cars? Well, I guess we know now. Something happened to where someone gave orders to policemen to barricade people and not let them leave.
through my mind. But anyway, I get to Safeway, and it was closed. And so I walked back, and all the roads were blocked, and I just could not believe the destruction that had happened there. And but you know, and the internet was not working for a few days, and I just didn't talk to anybody about it. You know, it's just I had no idea, and also I felt guilty. You know, I felt I was a watchman in the tower, and there was a fire, and I didn't warn the people, and blood's on my hands. You
No,
know?
I mean, that's not the case, Fish.
But
You were given an exit, you know, and you followed your instinct, and
well, the only people survived were the ones that went through the barricade. You know,
right.
and I just and
So do you have any theories? Do you have any thoughts on why? I mean, I know you're saying it's not the police officer's fault, and whoever.
Listen here, real close. Now he's going to ask him who he thinks has something to do with this.
is in charge. But do you have any? I know it's been a couple weeks now. You've had a lot of time to think and talk and ask people, and people have called you, and you know you're just to me you're like a sage wise man. That's how I've always looked at you. You're somebody that knows things that other people don't know because of your background, your history, your education, the things that you've done in your life, and you've been here and you listen. And I know you're a man of God. I think you've got a faith and you know the Bible. What do you think?
It's a choreographed disaster. You know, the pattern of it is just too obvious. You know, not only were they blocking where I was at, the other end of town, I found out they had Maui Electric was trying to set the poles up during the wind, and they had the highway blocked off with that. And
Did you hear that? Choreographed disaster. And they had a power company on the other end blocking off the other end of town. Guys, that was a trap. Those people sat in their cars thinking that they were going to receive help and they were going to listen to the police because that's what we're taught to do is listen to the police and do what they say, especially in a time like that where you need the fire department and you need the police department to help direct traffic and make sure people don't go crazy. Now, something went wrong here, and it's really wrong, and it's bad.
the lack of communication, the sirens not going off, the water not being used. I mean, you could go on and on.
Listen, the sirens didn't go off. There was no water. It just goes on and on and on. The list goes on. It's like someone turned all that stuff off just to be sure that it would be a huge disaster. Okay?
It's and then they're lying to us about the people and the children. That's what a lot of people have been contacting me because they want to know what happened to the kids. Well, all you got to do is extrapolate. There's 3,001 students in Lahaina. 1,000 of them have been accounted for. They're going to either alternative schools or online. That's 2,000 children not accounted for. And
Do you hear what he said? The mainstream news says 800 to 850. It's more like 2,200 kids are missing or dead or wounded, and it's been 2 weeks.
this has been weeks afterwards. And they're talking about 100 or maybe 850 or 1,100 that are missing. It doesn't add up.
Nothing adds up. It's
Nothing
kinda,
adds up.
I mean, no pun here, but it seems kind of fishy, don't it, Fish?
Very fishy.
Very fishy.
And also, I went to open a bank account, and I never told anyone which bank or what I'd done. And the next day, I got a text on my phone saying someone's trying to withdraw cash from your account. And I went to the link, and it had the online thing for that bank, which I had not installed or anything yet. And had I probably would have had all my money taken. So I called the bank, and I told them what happened, and they said, "Oh, well, someone tried to fish you." I'm like, "But I haven't told anyone I went to the bank. How could they know it? There's nothing on my phone or anything."
So Fish right out of the gate gets his bank account for the first time in 12 years,
Yes.
and you get fished right out of the gate. As a matter of fact, I think I mentioned this to you earlier, but I have a couple that lost 2 homes in Lahaina, and they contacted the phone number that they were given for the Red Cross, and they followed all the directions, and they're in their late 70s. They're not very tech savvy. And I've got it all recorded. They just don't want me to share it because they're private people. But they're out of their mind crazy right now because they followed all these instructions to get their Red Cross assistance and ended up getting scammed, getting fished as well. So this is a warning to all those people out there that are trying to process claims with FEMA and Red Cross. Be very, very aware that there are scammers out there injecting themselves. I'm not saying it's the Red Cross. I'm just saying be very, very careful. And I think you've already experienced that, right? People taking advantage of people when they're as down and out as they possibly could be. So if you missed the beginning of this, of course, we're having some...
Did you hear that? While people are down and out, their homes are burned up, they have no food or no water, and someone is going to come in there and try to scam them and act like they're the Red Cross or FEMA. Shame on you, whoever you are, shame on you. I pray God can get a hold of you. Amen. In Jesus' name.
difficulty with our live transmissions because we're one of the few Starlinks on Maui, but Fish has had over 300 people reach out to him, try to give him money. He's refused it, but we've told him, hey, Fish, man, it's time to set up a Venmo. So we've done that. It's Maui Fish. If you want to give to Fish, please do so freely. And the interesting thing is people have come up to him and tried to give him gift cards and money, and he just says, I don't need it. You know, just give it to someone else that does. So that's the kind of man you're dealing with here. And if he does get some money from this, he wants to use it to promote some of the things that God's put on his heart to share with the world on maybe a platform someday. So he's going to try to take, he's a minimalist in the highest degree of the word, but he's going to take some of the funds and hopefully use it to rebuild his life, but also a platform someday to share some of his sage wisdom that he's come across. So so back to our topic at hand here. It's an orchestrated, what did you say?
Choreographed disaster.
Choreographed disaster. Are you willing to go as far as to say who or what or why? Or are you just going to leave it at that? You let them make their own decisions. Do you have any insight there? And again, I'm not a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory guy, but do you have anything you want to share? And I understand if you don't, but if there's anything you want to share on that topic, do you have anything that you want to?
Well, it's something probably anyone who's been on the internet for 30 years like I have knows that BlackRock and Vanguard are the owners of the Hawaiian Electric Company, where FEMA's staying at their $1,000.
That's the electric company that helped block the road, owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. And FEMA's staying in $1,000 hotels. Listen to this man now.
Plus rooms is owned by Bill Gates.
Owned by Bill
all
Gates.
the same names keep popping up.
Over and
sheriff
over.
who was involved with the Las Vegas debacle, he was here for 5 weeks. He wants a 29% increase in pay, and he's not only the police chief, but he's the coroner.
Right,
And
which is against the statute, right?
Against the statute,
supposed
Hawaiian
to be
law, but
right.
there it is. You know, what are you going to
So the guy the police chief that he's saying that did the corruption order is also the coroner, so he can write whatever he wants on the dead bodies and get away with it. That's why it's against statute. Do you understand the corruption there? Do you see how the power has corrupted those individuals?
do about it?
Right.
So he's in charge as the coroner. Well, it's the same as Hunter Thompson, who wrote a book on George Bush, and he was very excited about getting it published. 2 days before it was getting published, he committed suicide by shooting himself in the head twice. The coroner put it out as a suicide.
Did you hear what that man said? It got put down as a suicide. The man shot himself in the head twice. How stupid does the mainstream media think you are? By you buying regular cable and supporting and watching those networks, you are supporting someone who thinks you're an idiot, that you're too stupid to find the truth. That's what you're doing. Stop buying regular cable. Just pay for the internet, get your Netflix or your free Tubi, and then or you watch YouTube all the time. That's all I do is I watch YouTube and I make videos. That's what I do. Because I want to make a change in the world. I want this to start as a grassroots movement. Because what's happening there, it's coming here next, or where you live. If they're bold enough to do it in Hawaii, where that is pristine land worth bukus of money. And those people that wouldn't sell their homes and do all that 15-minute city, that they had just had a 15-minute city conference before that as well. And they're not down with that. If you're not down with the plan, then down with you.
So that's fact.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of things that went wrong simultaneously. So in my mind, the way I look at that is the probability of that happening in nature is very unusual. Like if you have one thing that doesn't happen, the siren doesn't go off, okay, or maybe the water didn't work. I mean, for one of these things to be in place, I think is somewhat reasonable.
Right.
But to have absolutely everything go wrong, that part to me seems very unlikely. And so therefore it does point the finger in the direction of some type of human causation. Would you agree?
It was not organic.
Right, thank you.
So
Yeah. So we obviously would love to hear your comments, what you think, but more importantly, and I've said this time and time again because I'm getting calls like Fishes from people all around the world talking about what happened. I don't know about you, Fish, but I'm a little more concerned about what's about to happen.
Yes.
Right? What's the next step that they, whoever they are, is going to take that we're not thinking about because they're creating confusion, right? One of the things from the art of war is the secret is to create, right, confusion so that the enemy does not know your truest intent.
Right.
So what I want to do, and the reason, honestly, I wanted to talk to Fish, is I believe because of this interview, somebody out there that's way above our pay grade, right? That's in a completely different level of government or society or intelligence, or I'm not saying intelligence as in they're smarter than us, but they have information access that is beyond our reach. They can now mobilize assets, they can now mobilize attorneys, they can mobilize agencies of the government, they can mobilize things because they're hearing of this story from Fish. So sometimes I believe God uses interesting messengers to envoy or beacon or clarion call a holy assembly of people together to do the right thing. And I think ultimately that's the call that I have for you.
Amen.
So if you're listening to this and you're one of those people, I pray to God that you will be moved to do the right thing and to do the next thing.
Amen.
And to help us. Because the way I look at it is not here on Maui, not on these grounds that are holy to these people with this beautiful, lovely...
Exactly. Just as where you grew up and lived your whole life is a special place to you. Like, I have a special place that I love like that I would never want to see something happen like that. I'm sure you do too. But it's just like I said it a minute ago. If you're not down with the plan, then down with you. You understand me? That's how hard these guys are willing to go. They're willing to kill children, genocide men and women, because that's thousands and thousands of people dead and genocide. Do you understand that? And the scary part is FEMA has built camps, but they're called evacuation camps there. If I saw all that, I would be scared to go to the camp because I would be afraid of what they're going to do to me at the camp. And I'm going to throw something in. If you go look at 1960s China and modern day America and you put them side by side, we were acting like 1960s China right before Mao took over. They started taking the statues down, wanting to erase stuff out of history. Men don't have an identity. Women don't have an identity. That's a whole thing of communist playbooks, guys. that go read the Little Red Book by Mao. I am telling you, if you read the first 3 pages, you will understand what is happening in this country. Go listen to some of the people who are still alive that lived when Mao took over. They will tell you it is exactly what's happening in this country right now. Trump is not lying about the communism takeover, and these people are trying to grab everything they can get before that happens so they can be an oligarch like the Russians have. The money is wrapped up in like 100 people, all the money, and everybody else, it doesn't matter. You get a loaf of bread, maybe a glass of milk.
People that have served people on vacation for decades and grew sugarcane and pineapples and not here, not in Hawaii, and we need your help right now. And quite frankly, Fish, the way I feel is if they can get away, whoever they are, with it here, they're going to be coming to your backyard next.
This is a shakedown. I mean, a shakedown cruise. You know, this whole thing will be analyzed, and
Do you see how he said shakedown? I'm going to tell you why he said that. Because people like Oprah and Bill Gates came in there after these families had lost their homes, lost their land, everything had burned up. And you know what they offered to do? Buy the land from them. They wanted to buy it. Now they did that so that they could get that land, so that they can put hotels on it and make millions and millions and billions of more dollars. Do you understand?
they'll see where, you know, and that's just the way they work. You know, they'll do it. They'll see where they got to control this or they got to control that, and they'll fine tune it, and it'll happen elsewhere. And when it happens elsewhere, this will be forgotten, just like Las Vegas. You know, case dismissed. You know,
Right.
closed.
So what I'm asking,
Don't let this be forgotten. Let this be our uniting firm rock, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you still want to have a free democratic society. Let this start a movement. No in Maui and no everywhere else. You're not going to get whatever you want. You're not going to kill us when you want to. You're not going to take from us whenever you want to. Fair representation and fair taxation by a good representative in the government. We're supposed to be represented fair and equally. This is not that. This is tyranny and oppression, and there are places in the world who are tyrannized and oppressed worse than this, but we're a shining light to them and a bastion and an asylum and a refuge for them. America cannot turn into this.
I don't know if you agree with me, that we need to draw a line in the sand right now.
That's right.
We need to draw a line in the sand at Maui. How about you? Because if they don't draw a line in the sand, like you said, it's just going to be an exercise of education for them to refine it and do it better in the next spot, whoever they is and whatever it is. But I think it's time for people to step up and do the right thing and to fight the battle now and come forth and put on their armor, take out their weapons of intellect or whatever it is that they need to fight this. And I also believe that prayer is essential at this
Amen.
time. So
Well, Yahweh does not need your prayers, but you need your prayers to
Amen.
remind yourself. You know, that's what prayers are, is to remind yourself who you are. Yahweh does not need your prayers to exist. We need our prayers to exist and to receive the messages from Him.
receive the intellect, to receive the discernment,
Yes.
and
Amen.
what the call to action is, the
always
marching
pray for-
orders, if you will.
I always pray for wisdom and discernment, and that I don't go to the left or the right. And sometimes I do, I admit.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I say things that I wanted to say, but I didn't say. I think we're all guilty of that.
For sure.
But I'm aware of it, and when it happens, I stop it. You know, I do it. You know, I'm trying to be, you know, I am a servant of the Lord. You know, to what degree? I'm not the least, I'm not the most. I'm whatever degree that is. That's the way I see myself. And all I wanted in life, I had a request to the Lord that before I die, I want to know the truth. I don't want anything else, just that. I
Just
want
the
to know
truth.
the truth, because the truth will set you free.
And I also know, Fish, that your name is because of your ministry. And I know that you've been sharing that on Front Street for a long time. So in case you guys don't know, if you haven't been to Maui, if you're whatever, this is the gentleman that sits right next to Cheeseburger in Paradise. He sits at, I used to call it like, ground zero of Lahaina. It's like Lahaina Luna and Front Street. That's his turf right there. And he makes things and fish specifically. He gives them to kids, but angelfish, thank you. And what is your message that you share with people all the time on Front Street?
Well, I try to get them into a dialogue about the Lord, but I find...
Okay, guys, that's pretty much it with about the fire stuff. And I want to continue, and I want to continue to where we are looking at some of the destruction that's really happened inside Maui. I think everybody really needs to see this, because you don't want it to happen to your home or that place you hold sacred. And you definitely do not want America to turn into some communist place. It's a place for people to come to where they can live free of oppression, not to be oppressed because of or censored over some word that offends somebody else. No, Americans aren't like that. Americans are thick-skinned. Get out of your feelings, guys. Who cares? There's people on here on the internet tell me they want to kill me. They call me drug addict. They call me crackhead. They call me all kinds of stuff here on the internet. You know what? I just let it go. And you know what I say? Good for them, because all press is good press, and it's just going to run the algorithm up, right? So I'll be back. I'm going to pause right here, and I want to show you some of the destruction in Maui. Okay, guys, I want to point something out to you. Now, black smoke billowing off like that, I mean, that's just not very natural, because, like, every time I've ever started a fire, once it just gets to the wood, it's not black smoke, it's gray. And here, let me show you exactly what I mean. Like, here's some fire in Canada right now.
Border from Canada threatening the health of 80 million Americans.
To the haze, that's coming downstream. The thickest haze and smoke is actually during the evening hours, so the air quality is only going down.
More than 400 active wildfires are burning.
Okay, now, you see what I'm saying right there. Now, let me show you Maui. Now, here it is.
Away. It erupted so suddenly people had to run into the ocean to escape the fire and then later be rescued.
See,
CNN's
the
Derek
black
Van Dam
smoke.
is with us now. And Derek, we just heard from
Black
authorities
smoke.
in Hawaii. They say the
What
fire's
is in
still
that
burning.
fire that's causing
and
it
it's
to
likely
burn
to
black
continue
like
as
that?
well.
And not
Black.
being able to get a hold of some of your
There's
coworkers.
someone
it's just,
getting
you
under
can't
black,
stop thinking
black,
about
black,
it. We actually
black. You see what I'm saying here? So something's not right with that. And when they were talking, they had Maui Fish right there. He brought up this guy here. This guy right here, it shows his whole escape.
And hunker down.
Now see, he's stuck in his car.
Not gonna lie, I don't think
I'm not going to show everything. I'm kind of gonna go through it here.
Concerned about my own personal safe being ever, and obviously those around me too. But
You see how it's just stuck? They're all stuck.
it's crazy. Then we have people doing this. Okay. Yeah, I might have to ditch.
Oh. Yeah, he's going to get out of his car. See how the wind's blowing towards him? So he ends up getting out of his car. And running
Okay, well,
to
I'm at
the
Kingdom Hall. Here's the plan.
Here it is.
That fire is moving, so I am gonna make my way down to the water right now. I'm going.
And this is what thousands and thousands of people did, but also thousands of people put their trust into the law, and they were supposed to direct them out of there. Instead, they burned up and died. It goes on to say, see, look, he had to go plumb down to the water. And you see how you got the white, maybe that was a cloud.
Definitely close.
So we won't say that's the white smoke. See, it's black, guys. Now, does that remind you of something? Because it just dawned on me. That reminds me of something. Let's see. Train derailment. Now, does that look like
this morning, an NTSB hearing is underway to understand what went wrong in the catastrophic Norfolk Southern train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio in February. One first responder detailing the chaos at the scene.
What does that look like, guys?
He didn't know the train was carrying toxic chemicals, and his team did not have the proper equipment.
It was dark, the fire. There was no possible way to determine what.
Now let's get you a good view. Let's see, let's go for images. Here, let's go for images. Right, here's one. That looks sort of similar. Did someone use some kind of toxic chemicals? Yeah, here's another one. Look how hot that is. I'm not saying that's what it is. But what I am saying is this. That man that was interviewed, he is not lying. He's telling the truth. That's why they come in afterwards and tried to buy the land from the people's houses, from the people whose houses and homes and land had just burnt down, because they want to commercialize it. Okay? Those people wouldn't sell their land for nothing. About 10 years ago, there was a big stink on like, you can't buy land in Hawaii because nobody will sell it unless they know you and they know you're going to take care of the land. Like, it's a very precious thing to them, that land is. Just like I'm sure the land that you own is. And if someone was to come in there and start some kind of fire, that would be awful. And it also reminds me of Donald Trump talking about all the prisoners and all the mental patients that they let out of the prisons in Central America, Mexico, South America, and those type of people. Well, what's in there with those type of people? People who set fires, arsonists. And we've just let them come across the border thinking they needed asylum and that every single person's going to be a good person and innocent. No, that's not how it works. You must be vetted to see if you are a good person. Like, even God does that, you know. That's why there's people in hell today. Do you understand? There are some evil, mean individuals who are been corrupted by money. They'll do anything to get more of it and get more land and control more and more and more of the wealth and decimate the middle class till there is all that is left is the rich and the poor. And that's about the way it is right now. Now, I'm going to say that Donald Trump should have your vote. Donald Trump understands how an economy works, how everything is built upon oil and gas. And oil and gas it's not, they want you to think that it can deplete and just poof disappear. And comes from like dead animals and they decay, okay? Animals die every second of every day. There are animals everywhere in our forest. So it is a natural resource that keeps on regenerating, guys. New deposits, but new deposits and new deposits. They want you to think differently and like it's depleted, and so they can get more out of it. It's a money thing. It always comes down to the money. Now, Donald Trump understands how an economy runs on oil and gas. All your plastics are made from it. All your like petroleum-based lotions. It's even in your shampoos. It's in your fertilizers for your foods. It's in everything. It's how everything works. Now, when he turned off those 2 pipelines, Biden, when he got into office, that is the reason our economy is in the condition it is in now. Okay? You must understand that about our economies, and you must understand that about oil and gas. They are lying to you, and they are lying to you about climate change too. They want to use you, and if you don't think that I'm not telling you the truth, I want you to go read Mao's little book. If you're one of these people that are going and sticking your hand and gluing it to the road and cementing it to the road and all that stuff, and stop oil now and stop that right now, let me tell you what you're thought of as by them. You're thought of as a useful idiot. Literally, go read the little red book. They like people like you they can put out an agenda and make you go crazy over it and then make you a useful idiot to push their agenda and their politics. If you think I'm lying, you got another thing coming, because that's the truth. That's how communists work, baby. And we ain't seen communism in the U.S. in a long, long, long time since Reagan. It's going to take somebody tough on crime and tough on the communists to turn this country around. And you guys are going to have to try to want to change your lives too. You can't just lay in the bed and let your life pass away, because let me tell you, I did that for long enough, probably 10 years. And I never want to be that person again. But I have to fight every day to not be that person. And I thank God for giving me a platform to speak on and to talk about. And just by listening to him, look at the things he's done in my life in this short amount of time, probably 6, 7, 8, 9 months at the most. He has turned me around for good, and I was very evil. But even when I was laying in that bed, very evil, he passed by me and spoke to my heart and told me that he died for my sins on an old cross. And he did that for me, and he used those words. So I pray that he do that for you too. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going to try to get better and better. I'm going to try to get an intro for going on and an exit for the show too. So it's just like something that you would tune into on a cable TV show. But I think this is pretty good for just episode 3. God bless you. I hope you have a good week. And I should have another show Friday and then Sunday. So we're going to do Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So that's the Jordan Bumgarner Show, episode 3, cut.